My name is Maya Thompson, and I used to believe that hard work could save anyone, even someone like me, a 27-year-old woman who grew up with nothing but ambition and a second-hand laptop. When I first walked into Hartman and Cole Financial, a shining glass building in the heart of the city, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope that I could finally build a life where I didn't have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. Hope that I could grow, learn, thrive. But I was wrong. God, I was so wrong. Because standing in the center of that polished office tower was a man who would become my worst nightmare. Mr. Adrian Hartman, CEO, my boss, and the kind of person who smiles with his lips but never his eyes. I still remember the first time he spoke to me. I had been hired as his executive assistant after 3 rounds of interviews. My hands shook as I knocked on his office door. "Come in," he said, his voice smooth but cold, like someone who had mastered the art of sounding important. I stepped inside. Everything in his office screamed power, from the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city to the perfectly arranged bookshelves filled with titles on leadership, management, and ruthless business strategy. Didn't look up from his laptop. "You're late," he said. I had arrived 5 minutes early. "I am sorry, sir," I whispered. "Rule number 1, he said, finally lifting his gaze. His eyes were icy blue, hard, calculating. "In this office, perception is reality. If I perceive you as late, then you're late, understand?" I nodded. "Good," he said. "Sit." That was the first crack in the image I had built in my head, the image of a bright future. But I was desperate. Rent was overdue. My mother was sick, and student loans don't forgive themselves, so I sat down. And that was how my story began, a story of manipulation, of humiliation, of emotional wounds so deep I thought I'd drown in them, but also a story of revenge. Because by the time you finish hearing everything he did to me, you'll understand why I couldn't just walk away. I had to bring him down, piece by piece. Mr. Hartman wasted no time in showing me who he really was. The first week, he treated me like I was invisible. The second week, like I was incompetent. By the third week, he treated me like I was his property. He would call me at 3 a.m. and demand I rewrite reports he hadn't even looked at. He would order me to cancel my lunch breaks because real dedication doesn't take a pause. He would criticize my work in front of the other executives, not to correct me, but to humiliate me. One time during a meeting, he shoved a binder across the table and said, "This is what happens when we hire charity cases." Everyone laughed. I didn't, but I swallowed it. I swallowed everything because I needed the job. At least that's what I told myself. The truth was darker. I didn't want to admit I was afraid of him because Mr. Hartman wasn't just cruel, he was powerful. Untouchable. The kind of man who made you feel like one wrong move would end your entire career. And he knew it. One night, after I had stayed in the office past midnight again, he walked into my cubicle without knocking. "You know what your problem is, Maya?" he asked, leaning closer. I froze. "You're too emotional, too soft. You'll never survive here if you don't learn to shut that off." He walked out before I could answer. I remember staring at my reflection in the dark window, asking myself, who am I becoming? And that was the first time I felt it, the tiniest spark of anger. It was faint, flickering, barely alive, but it was there. And eventually, he would give it enough fuel to burn him alive. I lasted 6 months under Mr. Hartman. 6 months of late nights, impossible deadlines, and the constant feeling that I was failing, no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I sacrificed. I barely recognized myself anymore. My voice had gotten quieter. My smile had disappeared. And every morning, as I stood in front of the mirror getting ready for work, I felt a weight in my chest, heavy, suffocating, like something was slowly killing me from the inside. But back then, I still believed I could endure it. I thought if I just held on a little longer, things would get better. They didn't. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. I remember it clearly because the sun had just set, casting a warm orange glow over the office. Everyone had already left for the weekend. Everyone except me and him. I was typing up the quarterly performance summary, something he had changed his mind about 3 times already, when I heard his footsteps behind me. Slow, purposeful. "Maya," he said. "My office, now." I wanted to say I was almost done, but I knew better. I followed him into his office, clutching my laptop. He closed the door, then he dropped a thick folder onto his desk. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's the revised report you asked for," I said quietly. This is what you call a report." My throat tightened. "It's exactly what you approved this morning," I said. You even signed, wrong move, never correct him. Never remind him he's inconsistent. Never prove he's wrong. Because immediately his expression darkened. Are you blaming me for your incompetence? He snapped. My stomach dropped. No, sir, I didn't mean. He slammed his hand on the desk. The sound echoed through the glass walls. You think you can talk back to me? You think you can embarrass me in my own company? I didn't. Shut up. My breath caught in my throat. You're lucky I hired you, he said, circling around me like a predator. You're lucky I haven't fired you yet. Do you know how many people want your job? Women who are smarter, better, stronger. Each word felt like a slap. But then he said something that broke me completely. You're replaceable, Maya, utterly forgettable. Keep this up and the only thing you'll be known for is failing. Something inside me shattered, right there, in that moment. In that office filled with the smell of his cologne and the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I felt it, that spark from before, the spark he kept feeding. It grew. No, it ignited. Because for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel shame. I felt rage. Hot, deep, consuming, he didn't notice. People like him never do. They don't see cracks forming until the whole building collapses. All he saw was a quiet girl looking down at the floor. But inside me, a fire had just started. And deep down, I finally knew something. I wasn't going to survive him. I was going to destroy him. Revenge doesn't start with a plan. It starts with a moment. A realization. Mine came the following Monday. I arrived early before sunrise because after Friday, sleep was impossible. My mind replayed everything he said, every insult, every moment he made me feel small. But this time, instead of breaking me, it fueled me. When I entered the office, I noticed something strange. His door was open, light off, room empty, and on his desk, his laptop, unlocked, still on. It was like fate had placed a key in my hand. I stepped into his office as quietly as I could, my heart thudding in my chest. The screen was open to his company email. Hundreds of messages, private ones, confidential ones. My hand hovered over the mouse. Don't do it, the scared version of me whispered. Do it, the new version of me replied. I clicked. At first it was harmless, meetings, memos, contracts, but then I found something. A folder labeled, Internal Audit Do Not Share. Inside were documents showing financial inconsistencies, missing funds, unauthorized transfers, and worst of all, falsified reports with his signature on them. My breath caught. This was big, bigger than I ever expected. Hartman wasn't just a bully, he was corrupt. And suddenly everything became clear, his cruelty, his paranoia, his need to control everything. It wasn't leadership, it was fear, fear of being exposed. I took pictures, every file, every email, every document. My hands shook, but not from fear, from adrenaline. Because for the first time, I had power, real power. I left his office just seconds before I heard the elevator ding. He walked in moments later, and for the first time ever, I met his eyes without looking away. He didn't notice the difference, but he would, soon, because the first piece had fallen, and the rest, I was going to bring crashing down. Power is a strange thing. When you've lived without it for so long, even the smallest taste feels intoxicating. All weekend, I kept replaying the documents I found on Mr. Hartman's laptop. The missing funds, the forged signatures, the hidden accounts. He wasn't just bending the rules, he was breaking them, shattering them, grinding them into dust and daring anyone to speak up. But no one ever did because everyone feared him. Everyone except me. Not anymore. I spent the next few days observing him, noticing patterns, studying his behavior like a scientist studies a dangerous animal. He always entered the office at 8:43 a.m., never earlier. Never later. He liked predictability as long as he was the one controlling it. He checked his email obsessively but only replied to executives. He belittled junior staff but flattered board members. He micromanaged everything I did, yet rarely double-checked his own work. The more I watched him, the more I realized something important. He didn't think I was smart enough to be a threat, and that made me dangerous. That week he gave me a project, a massive, detailed, time-consuming overhaul of the department budget projections. Have it done in 48 hours, he said, dropping a stack of files on my desk. I don't care how long you have to stay, no mistakes. It was intentional, a setup. He wanted me exhausted, desperate, overwhelmed. He wanted me weak, but I wasn't the same Maya, not anymore. That night, while everyone left the office, I stayed behind. Not for him, not for the stupid report. But to learn, I downloaded a copy of the company's internal software logs. Every login, every file edit, Every late-night transfer he made when he thought no one was watching. At 2 a.m., while the office sat silent and empty, I found it, the missing link. Emails between Mr. Hartman and an unknown private consulting firm. A firm registered under a shell corporation. A shell corporation connected to him. He was funneling company money into a business he secretly owned. Millions, not thousands, millions. My hands trembled. This wasn't just fraud. It was a crime so big it could destroy the entire company. And I had the proof. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the glowing screen. A strange mix of fear and triumph washed over me. He thought he was the predator. He thought I was prey. But predators make one fatal mistake. They underestimate the quiet ones. The ones who watch. The ones who learn. The ones who wait. I closed the laptop and whispered into the empty office. "You're going to fall, Adrian, and I'm going to be the one who pushes you. Revenge is a lonely road. But sometimes a shadow walks beside you without you realizing it." Her name was Lena. She worked in accounting, quiet, meticulous, always wearing oversized sweaters that swallowed her small frame. We had never spoken much beyond polite greetings. But one afternoon, as I was returning from the printer, she stopped me. "Maya, can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I blinked. "Sure." She glanced around nervously, then pulled me into an empty conference room and locked the door. My heart raced. "Lena, what's wrong?" She swallowed hard. Her eyes glistened with fear. "It's Mr. Hartman," she said. "I think he's doing something illegal." My breath hitched. She continued, whispering like the walls had ears. "I found financial discrepancies in the quarterly reports, transfers that don't make sense. Missing funds. When I brought it up, she choked on the rest. He called me incompetent, then he threatened to fire me if I ever spoke about it again." I felt my blood boil. Same pattern, same cruelty, same intimidation. "I'm scared, Maya," she whispered. I think he's covering something up, and if you've seen anything, if you know anything, please help me." For a moment, I couldn't speak, because I had expected to fight this war alone. But staring at her trembling hands, I realized something. I wasn't the only one he had hurt. I wasn't the only one he had tried to silence. He had left a trail of broken people behind him, women and men who lost their courage, their confidence, their sense of worth. But Lena wasn't broken, not completely. She was scared, but she still had spark. The same spark I once lost. I placed a hand on her shoulder. "Lena," I said softly, "you're not alone anymore." Her eyes widened. "Because I know exactly what he's doing," I continued. "And I'm going to bring him down." She exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. "But I can't do it alone," I added. "I need your help." She nodded, determination replacing fear. "I'll do whatever it takes." And just like that, my revenge was no longer a silent battle. I had an ally, a witness, a fighter. Something shifted inside me, my grief, my anger, my fear, they became a purpose. Because now it wasn't just about me. It was about every person he had crushed. And together, Lena and I were going to make sure Adrian Hartman never crushed anyone again. Lena and I began meeting in secret. Empty conference rooms, quiet stairwells, even the rooftop where the city lights flickered like tiny stars far below us. Every meeting felt dangerous, like we were walking a tightrope, and the slightest noise could send everything crashing down. But we were careful, and for the first time, I felt hope. We spent days comparing her accounting logs to the files I had taken from his laptop, and that's when the real picture formed. The missing funds weren't random. They were consistent, systematic. Every month, money vanished from the company's development budget and reappeared, buried under shell companies, fake vendor accounts, and consulting fees that didn't make sense. He wasn't stealing out of greed. He was building something, preparing for something. "What is he doing with all this money?" Lena whispered one night. "I don't know," I said, "but whatever it is, it's big." We documented everything, screenshots, emails, financial trails, backup copies hidden in cloud storage he didn't know about. But the more evidence we gathered, the more paranoid I became. Every time the elevator dinged, I flinched. Every time footsteps echoed behind me, my heart raced. Every morning, I wondered if today was the day he'd find out. Because Hartman wasn't stupid. He had built his empire by sniffing out threats. And lately, he had started watching me. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I was at my desk typing up a report when I felt a stare. I looked up. He was standing at his office door, eyes locked onto mine. Cold, piercing, sharp as a blade. He held my gaze for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile, not even a fake professional one. No, it was the kind of smile that says, "I know something you don't." A chill rippled through me. Had he seen something? Heard something? Did he suspect me? He called me into his office without looking away. I swallowed hard and followed him inside. The moment the door closed, he spoke. "Do you enjoy working here, Maya?" My pulse quickened. "Yes, sir," I lied. He stepped closer. "You've been distracted lately, sloppy." He leaned in. "Is there something I should know?" I forced a calm smile. "No, sir, everything is fine." He studied my face, searching, analyzing, waiting for a crack to show. After a moment, he nodded slowly. "Good," then he whispered. "Because anyone who betrays me doesn't just lose their job, they lose everything." My stomach twisted. He wasn't accusing me, not yet. He was warning me. I walked out of his office with shaky legs and barely made it to the bathroom before collapsing against the sink. He could smell it. Threat, rebellion, defiance. And like any predator sensing danger, he was getting ready to strike. I realized something important that day. If I didn't act soon, he would destroy me. Not professionally, personally. He would dig into my past, my finances, my family. He would twist everything he found and use it against me. I couldn't wait. So Lena and I made a plan, a dangerous one, a bold one, but the only one. We decided to send an anonymous tip to the Internal Ethics and Compliance Department, the one division Hartman couldn't control because it reported directly to the board. But one tip wouldn't be enough. Corporate sharks like Hartman didn't fall from accusations. They fell from evidence. We spent 3 nights assembling a complete, extensive report, every fraudulent transfer, every hidden account, every forged document, every financial inconsistency. By the time we finished, the file was over 200 pages. "This is enough to bring him down," Lena whispered, staring at the thick binder. "No," I said softly. "This is enough to make them investigate him." She blinked. "Then what brings him down?" I closed the laptop. "Us." Because I finally understood something critical. A man like Hartman didn't fear police. He didn't fear auditors. He didn't fear lawyers. He feared exposure, embarrassment, losing control. And to destroy him, I needed to attack the one thing he couldn't survive, his reputation. Sending the anonymous report was the easy part. Waiting for the consequences, that was torture. On Friday morning, the entire office buzzed with strange energy, whispers in the hallways, glances exchanged in the elevator, tension hanging in the air like static. People could feel something coming. They just didn't know what. But I did, and so did Lena. We sat at our computers pretending to work when 3 men in black suits walked into the building. They moved with quiet authority, badges clipped to their belts, scanning the room with sharp eyes. Internal investigations, Hartman's nightmare. When he saw them, his face changed in a way I will never forget. His confident smirk slipped. His jaw tightened. His eyes widened just a little, but enough. For the first time, he looked afraid. They went straight to the conference room. 10 minutes later, his phone rang. He slammed his office door so hard the glass vibrated. Lena glanced at me, her hands trembling. "It's happening," she whispered. I nodded, but my stomach churned. Because a cornered animal was always the most dangerous. An hour later, he emerged from the meeting looking furious. He marched toward me with quick, heavy steps. "Maya, my office, now!" The entire floor went quiet. Even the interns stopped typing. I stood slowly, my heart racing. This was it. The moment everything could go wrong. I followed him inside. He shut the door. Hard. "Sit," he snapped. I did. He paced behind his desk, hands shaking with barely controlled anger. "Do you know what's happening right now?" he finally asked. "No, sir," I said quietly. He slammed his fist onto the table. "Don't lie to me." I flinched, not from fear, but because I needed to stay believable. He leaned across the desk until his face was inches from mine. "Someone," he hissed, "has been spreading false allegations about me." "I'm sorry to hear that," I whispered. His eyes narrowed. "Sorry or guilty?" I met his stare, steady, calm, controlled. "Sir, I don't know what you're implying." He studied me in silence, long, intense, then he straightened. "You've been loyal, Maya, I see that, I appreciate it." He walked around the desk and rested a hand on my shoulder, a cold, heavy hand. "Tell me," he said softly, voice dripping with manipulation, "if you'd heard something, anything that could hurt me, you'd come to me first, wouldn't you?" My pulse hammered. This was his tactic, corner, intimidate. Force confession, but I wasn't breaking this time. "Yes," I said smoothly, "of course." His expression softened, but only on the surface. "Good girl," he whispered. I kept my face emotionless. Inside, my rage grew. He dismissed me, and as I walked out of his office, one thing became painfully clear. He didn't suspect me. Not yet. He was chasing ghosts in the dark, and I was the shadow he couldn't see. The trap was closing. Now I just needed to tighten it. By Monday, the investigation had intensified. Executives were questioned. Financial records were pulled. Departments were audited. People whispered behind closed doors, their voices barely audible above the hum of the office air conditioning. And Hartman, he was unraveling. The man who once strutted through the office like a king now paced frantically, snapping at employees, slamming doors, barking orders that made no sense. Every morning, the shadows under his eyes grew darker. Every afternoon, his control slipped further. And I watched, quietly, patiently, deliberately, because I knew something he didn't. Investigations reveal the truth, but pressure makes people crack. One afternoon, he stormed into the office with a stack of documents and slammed them on Lena's desk. "These budgets don't add up," he barked. "They're missing data. Fix it." Lena froze. "I didn't alter anything, sir. They were already—" He leaned in, voice low and vicious. "Are you accusing me of tampering with company finances?" Lena's face drained of color. "No, sir, I didn't." "Then fix your mistake," he growled, "before it costs you your job." He walked away. Lena's hands shook as she stared down at the papers. I knelt beside her and whispered, "Hey, look at me." She swallowed hard, eyes brimming with tears. "This is his pattern," I said softly. "When he's losing control, he attacks the weakest link." Her voice cracked. "I don't want him to ruin my life, Maya." I squeezed her hand. "He won't," I promised. "Not this time." Because what Hartman didn't know was this. Lena wasn't the weak link. He was, and his cracks were starting to show. By the end of the week, the investigation team had moved into a small office on the 14th floor. From there, they called up employees one by one. Every time the elevator doors opened, the entire floor fell silent, everyone wondering who would be taken next. When they finally called me, Mr. Hartman's head snapped up from across the room. Our eyes met. His stare wasn't just intense, it was desperate. He was losing control, and he knew it. I followed the investigators into the room, palms sweaty but mind sharp. The lead investigator, a calm woman with silver glasses, gestured for me to sit. "Maya, thank you for meeting with us." "We just have a few questions." I nodded. "Please state your position at the company." "I'm Mr. Hartman's executive assistant," I said. She exchanged a quick look with her partner. They already knew that. They were gauging my reaction. "Have you noticed any unusual activity in the financial department or in Mr. Hartman's directives?" I took a slow breath. This was it. The moment I'd prepared for. I couldn't confess too much. That would reveal I had evidence. But I couldn't appear clueless either. That would make me look suspicious. So I gave them exactly what they needed. Just enough truth to guide the investigation, but not enough to expose myself. "I can't say for sure," I said softly, "but Mr. Hartman has been stressed lately." The investigators leaned forward. "How so?" "He's been working late nights, taking private calls, and he's been unusually harsh with staff more than usual." "Has he ever asked you to handle documents that seemed unusual?" A carefully placed question. I nodded slowly, keeping my expression neutral. "There were a few transfers he made at odd hours," I said. I didn't understand all of it. I assumed it was above my level. A subtle clue. Harmless if innocent, damning if not. The woman with the glasses scribbled notes. "Thank you, Maya, that's very helpful." Before I left, she added, "If you remember anything else, anything at all, you can come to us directly, confidentially." I nodded again. As I exited, I felt a tremor of victory ripple through my chest. I had just placed another piece on the board. And when I returned to the office, I saw him watching me, leaning against his desk, arms crossed, expression tight. He was waiting. I walked past him. "Maya," he said sharply, "my office." Inside, he shut the door. "What did they ask you?" "Just normal questions." "What did you tell them?" He snapped. I turned to face him. "I told them the truth." His face twisted. "The truth, and what exactly does that mean?" "That you've been stressed," I said simply. "That you've been working late, that you've been on edge." He stared at me in disbelief. "That's it. That's it." Silence stretched between us like a wire pulled too tight. He didn't trust me, not fully. But he couldn't accuse me. Either accusation without proof would make him look guilty. "How much do you know, Maya?" he whispered suddenly. My blood froze, but I held his gaze. "Only what you allow me to know," I said. A perfect answer, submissive, loyal, believable. He exhaled shakily. "Good," he said. "We understand each other." He sat at his desk, dismissing me with a wave. But I didn't move. I watched him, really watched him. This once powerful man now hunched over paperwork, hand trembling as he scribbled a signature. And in that moment, I realized something. He wasn't a monster. He wasn't a titan. He wasn't untouchable. He was just a man terrified of losing everything. And I was the one who put that fear in his eyes. The following week, the investigation team uncovered discrepancies so big they couldn't be ignored. Files went missing. Budgets didn't align. Money trails didn't match. Vendor contracts led to nowhere. Executives whispered. Departments froze. Everyone waited for the explosion. And then it happened. One morning, the CEO's assistant, a woman named Carla, emerged from the boardroom, her face pale. "They want him," she whispered. Everyone stared. "The board," she continued, voice trembling. "They're calling an emergency meeting without him." Gasps rippled through the office. An emergency board meeting without the CEO meant only one thing: they were preparing to suspend him. Hartman stormed through the office minutes later, his face red with anger. "Everyone get back to work," he shouted. "There is no investigation, do you hear me? No one speaks to anyone without my permission." He slammed his office door so hard the floor shook. Lena and I exchanged a look. The facade was crumbling, the walls were breaking, the foundation was collapsing. He was cornered completely. Now it was time for the final blow, but I knew something: cornered predators attack, and he was about to strike back. Hard. The next morning, everything felt wrong. The office was too quiet. People whispered instead of spoke. And every time someone looked at me, they quickly looked away. Something had shifted. Something big. When I sat at my desk, I noticed first. My computer login didn't work. I tried again, locked out. My stomach dropped. That wasn't a glitch, it was a message. Before I could react, his office door opened. "Maya," he said calmly, too calmly. The kind of calm a person has when they think they've won. "Come in." I followed him inside. He closed the door gently, a soft sound that felt more threatening than a slam. He turned to me with a smile so thin it looked painful. "Sit." I didn't. His jaw clenched, but he continued anyway. "Do you know what betrayal feels like, Maya?" he asked quietly. "Of course you do. You've seen enough of it, but seeing it," he leaned forward, "is not the same as feeling it." I kept my face expressionless. He walked around his desk, slow, deliberate, hands behind his back like a commander about to pass judgment. "I trusted you," he said. "I gave you responsibility, access, proximity." He stopped in front of me. "And you repay me by talking to investigators." My heart stopped. So he did know, or he thought he did. Either way, this moment was dangerous. "I didn't say anything wrong," I replied evenly. "They asked basic questions, I gave basic answers." He smiled, that thin, terrifying smile. "Oh, I know exactly what you said." His voice dropped. "Because I read the investigators' notes." Cold washed through my chest. That was impossible. The investigation was confidential. "So how?" He tapped his desk. "A little bird in upper management still owes me favors." I swallowed hard. This wasn't going according to plan. He had connections I didn't expect. He leaned in, face inches from mine. "You think you're clever, don't you? You think you're going to help them take me down?" His whisper was venom. "Sweetheart, you're not the hunter here." He straightened. "You're the bait." A chill ran through my entire body. What did he mean by that? He answered before I asked. "Tell me, Maya, who do you think they'll blame when they find unauthorized financial files on your computer?" My blood turned to ice. Unauthorized files on my computer. He saw the realization hit me and smiled wider. "Yes," he said. "That's right. Everything they're looking for, it's on your account now." My breath caught. He framed me. He had actually framed me. He stepped closer, voice soft and cruel. "You want to play games? Fine, but you're not equipped to beat me." His hand cupped my chin. "You're an assistant. I'm the man who built this company." I pulled back. He let me, because he thought he had already won. If you stay loyal," he continued, "I'll make this all disappear. They'll never see the files. You'll be protected." My voice shook, not with fear, but with rage. "And if I do?" He shrugged casually. "Then you go down for financial fraud. And the board will believe it, because people like you don't survive scandals." He tilted his head. "But people like me do." Silence. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I knew something he didn't. I wasn't cornered. He was. And he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. I looked him straight in the eye. "You should have checked your assumptions," I said softly. He frowned. "What?" I smiled. "When you planted those files." I stepped closer. Did you forget that IT monitors every admin-level action? The blood drained from his face. And did you forget, I continued, that every file access, every transfer, every login leaves a digital fingerprint? His mouth opened slightly. I wasn't done. Did you also forget that investigators monitor targeted attempts to tamper with evidence? His jaw tightened. I leaned in. You didn't frame me, I whispered. You exposed yourself. He stepped back, shaken for the first time. You're lying. I'm not. I held his gaze. And you just confessed to everything. His face went white. I lifted my phone from my pocket and showed it to him. The screen still glowing, audio recording still active. He stared at it like it was a weapon. Because it was. You recorded me, he breathed. You forced me to, I said calmly. Just like you forced everyone else. He lunged forward, reaching for the phone. But I was faster. And louder. Touch me, I said. And the security cameras outside this office will show exactly what you've done. His hand froze midair. Slowly, he lowered it. Then I delivered the final blow. The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. I turned to leave. You might want to prepare. He whispered behind me. His voice broken. Maya, please. But I didn't look back. Because for the first time, he was the one who was powerless. The boardroom was on the 18th floor, a glass-walled palace overlooking the entire city. I had been inside it only twice in my life, both times to serve water and leave quietly. But today was different. Today, I wasn't a background figure. Today, I was the storm walking through those doors. When the elevator opened, half the executive team was already standing in the hallway. Whispers cut through the air in sharp little lines. Is he done? They found proof. I heard there's going to be a vote. Someone said they got a recording. Lena rushed to me the second she saw my face. Maya, what happened? You look like you just walked out of a war. I gave her a tiny nod, the kind that said yes, and the war isn't over yet. Before I could answer, the elevator chimed again. He stepped out. Mr. Hartman. The hallway fell silent instantly. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. He looked broken. Not physically, no. He was still wearing his $1,000 suit, still standing straight. But the arrogance, the swagger, the sneer. Gone. His eyes found me. They didn't burn with anger now. They trembled with fear. He walked toward the boardroom doors, but the security officer stationed at the entrance raised a hand. Sir, the board requested that you wait outside until they call you. Hartman stopped. That one sentence hit him like a slap. He was the CEO. The man who made decisions, not waited for them. He opened his mouth, likely to argue. But then he saw the look on the guard's face, solid, unmoving, official. Slowly, painfully, he stepped aside. He stood alone in the corner of the hallway, staring at the frosted glass doors, breathing like the walls were closing in. I had never seen him that way. Small. Human. Deflated. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt heavy. Because justice, real justice, never feels like cheering. It feels like truth settling in after years of being buried. A few minutes later, the board assistant opened the door. Maya, the board would like to see you. Every eye turned to me. Lena grabbed my hand. You can do this, she whispered. I walked into the boardroom. The temperature colder. The lights sharper. The air heavier. 12 board members sat in a perfect circle around the table. They didn't smile. They didn't speak. The chairwoman, a tall woman with steel gray hair and even steelier eyes, nodded. Please sit, Ms. Davis. I sat. She folded her hands. We've been reviewing significant allegations against your supervisor. As part of that process, we've listened to the recording you provided. My heart pounded. The recording. They listened to it. Before we proceed, she continued, we want to hear your account in your own words. I inhaled slowly, and I told them everything, from the intimidation, to the manipulation, to the late-night tasks meant to hide inconsistencies, to his threats, to the files he planted, to the moment he confessed. I didn't embellish. I didn't dramatize. I just told the truth. The raw, painful, unpolished truth. When I finished, the room was silent. Then the chairwoman said, "Thank you, Ms. Davis. You may wait outside while we deliberate." As I stood to leave, she added softly, "You've shown remarkable courage today." I nodded, throat tight, and walked out. Outside, he lifted his head when I stepped into the hall. He looked at me like he wanted to speak, to beg, to blame, to bargain. I wasn't sure. But before he could, the assistant opened the door again. "Mr. Hartman, the board will see you now." He swallowed hard and walked past me. For the first time since I'd known him, he didn't glare at me. He didn't smirk. He didn't bark a command. He looked at me like someone who finally understood. He had lost. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Then 40. Executives paced in tight circles. Phones buzzed with rumors. The tension felt like a weight pressing down on all of us. Finally, the door opened. The chairwoman stepped out. Everyone fell silent. She looked directly at Hartman. "Effective immediately," she said, voice firm. "You are suspended pending full termination. Security will escort you from the premises." Gasps. Whispers. Shock. He stood frozen, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. "Maya," he whispered, barely audible. But I didn't move toward him. I didn't need to. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was closure. Security approached and placed a hand near his arm. He didn't fight. He didn't shout. He didn't even look back. He simply lowered his head and walked out of the company he once ruled. Lena slipped her hand into mine. "It's over," she whispered. But it was. Not yet. Not completely. Because every ending has an aftershock. And mine was coming next. You would think that once the villain falls, everything magically becomes peaceful. But real life doesn't work that way. When Hartman was escorted out, the entire floor felt like it was holding its breath. Not out of sadness, but out of fear. Fear of what the future would look like. Fear of what else might be uncovered. Fear of who might be next. Because taking down a CEO doesn't end a toxic system. It exposes it. And suddenly, everyone realized just how fragile their positions were. His office door remained open. For the first time ever. No more slammed doors. No more barking orders. No more face pressed to glass, watching everyone like cattle. Just emptiness. I walked past it slowly. His desk was bare, except for a single cup of cold coffee. And a pen still lying exactly where he had dropped it earlier that morning. Funny how fast a tyrant disappears. One moment, he's a king. The next, he's a ghost. Lena leaned into the doorway behind me. "Feels weird, doesn't it?" she said. "It feels quiet," I whispered. "Too quiet." She nodded. When you cut off the head, the rest of the body doesn't know what to do. I stepped inside his office, something I never would have dared before. And for the first time, I noticed something. It wasn't a powerful room. It wasn't intimidating. It was small, and cold, and lonely. He had made himself seem bigger than life. But without him in it, the office felt like any other. A shell. Lena watched me carefully. "You okay?" I exhaled. "I don't know." Because truthfully, The adrenaline was wearing off. And underneath it was exhaustion, pain, relief, shock, everything all at once. When I returned to my desk, I saw it. One new email from Board HR. My heart skipped. I clicked it. Subject: immediate changes to company structure. Maya, the board would like to meet with you privately tomorrow morning. My mouth went dry. A private meeting. With the board. Lena read over my shoulder. She has zero concept of personal space when she's anxious. Oh my God, she whispered. This could be good or terrible. I nodded slowly. Very slowly. There were only two possibilities. They wanted to thank me and offer support. They wanted to clean up loose ends, including me. Toxic companies don't always reward the whistleblower. Sometimes they bury them too. The uncertainty twisted my stomach into knots. The rest of the day, the office buzzed like a shaken beehive. People suddenly wanted to talk to me. Coworkers who never looked at me before were now leaning over my desk. What did he say in the recording? Were you scared? Did you know he would get fired? Did you really talk to the board? Are they promoting you? Are we all next? I didn't answer most of them. I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was exhausted. Completely drained. By lunchtime, I slipped away to the rooftop. My secret place. The only place where the city noise drowned out my thoughts. I leaned against the railing, closed my eyes, and let the wind wash over me. For a moment, it felt peaceful. Until... A big day for you. I opened my eyes. Standing beside me was Daniel, the quiet IT analyst who barely spoke above a whisper. But today, he held himself differently. Calmer. More aware. I'm guessing you were part of this, I said gently. He smirked, a tiny smirk, but still a smirk. Let's just say, he replied, you're not the only one who was tired of him. I studied him. You saw the files he planted, didn't you? He nodded. Before he even finished uploading them. That meant he had monitored the whole thing in real time. Why didn't you say anything sooner? I asked quietly. Because whistleblowers get crushed in companies like this. He shrugged. But you took a risk, a big one, and when I saw that, I decided to back you. I breathed out. Thank you. He shook his head. No, thank you. You lit the match. The rest of us were just waiting for someone brave enough to strike it. I felt my throat tighten. I don't feel brave, I admitted. He smiled gently. No one ever does. Only movies make bravery look confident. In real life, it looks exactly like you look right now, terrified and moving forward anyway. I laughed softly. Because he was right. By the time I got home that night, it hit me. Tomorrow, everything could change. The board could punish me, promote me, fire me, reward me, ignore me. I had no idea. I sat on my bed and stared at my phone. At the recording still saved on it. The proof that had taken down a monster. I should have felt triumphant. But instead, I felt the weight of what comes after victory. Because endings aren't clean. They're complicated, messy, and full of consequences. I looked at my reflection in the darkened phone screen. You started this, I whispered to myself. And tomorrow, you'll find out the cost. I barely slept. My alarm went off at 6 a.m., but I'd already been awake for an hour, staring at the ceiling, listening to my heartbeat thud in my ears, replaying every possible scenario. Would they fire me? Would they thank me? Would they warn me to stay silent? Would they bury the entire situation? People think the scariest part of exposing power is the act itself. They're wrong. The scariest part is waking up the next morning. Because the world feels uncertain, shaky, fragile, Like everything could fall apart with one sentence. The office lobby looked the same as always. Sleek floors, gold elevators, coffee cups, stiff suits rushing by. But the way people looked at me was different. Some nodded respectfully. Some looked away quickly. Others stared like I was a ghost. The woman at security actually smiled at me, something she had never done in 4 years. "Good morning, Ms. Davis," she said. I swallowed. They all knew. The elevator ride felt endless. My reflection in the mirror looked calm, but my hands trembled slightly. When the doors opened to my floor, Lena was there waiting. "Maya, oh my God, I've been packing like crazy." She grabbed my shoulders. "Are you okay?" "I think so," I whispered. She exhaled dramatically. "You sure? Because you look like you're about to fight a dragon." I laughed weakly. Honestly, I'd prefer the dragon. Before she could respond, the intercom buzzed. "Maya Davis, please come to the 18th floor boardroom." My stomach dropped. Lena squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens in there, you're not alone." I nodded and stepped into the elevator. The door opened with a soft click. Same cold lights. Same long table. Same 12 board members staring at me with unreadable expressions. The chairwoman gestured to the seat in front of her. "Good morning, Ms. Davis. Please sit." I sat feeling like a defendant, a witness, and a stranger all at once. The chairwoman folded her hands. "We reviewed the full investigation last night. We interviewed staff. Legal, finance." I kept my breath steady. She continued. "And it is clear that without you, none of this would have come to light." My chest tightened. She wasn't angry. She sounded appreciative. Another board member leaned forward, an older man with soft eyes. "You exposed something we should have caught ourselves. You helped prevent what could have become a catastrophic scandal." My pulse slowly steadied. Then the chairwoman said, "We want to discuss your future here." This was the moment. The moment everything would pivot. I braced myself. "And then, we would like to offer you a promotion." My eyes widened. "A promotion? To what?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. The chairwoman smiled, a real smile this time. "Compliance and ethics coordinator, full-time, increased salary, private office, and whistleblower protections." My breath caught. Protections. Support. Safety. They weren't burying me. They were elevating me. "You're the reason we avoided a disaster," another board member added. "We need someone like you to ensure this never happens again." I felt warmth rise behind my eyes, the kind you fight back because crying in front of 12 powerful strangers feels wrong. But I managed to hold it together. "You don't have to decide today," the chairwoman said gently. "But know this." She looked at me with something I had never seen from leadership in this company. "Respect. You changed this place, Maya, and we would very much like you to stay." I nodded slowly. "Thank you," I whispered. I didn't expect this." "None of us did," she said softly. "But heroes rarely do." When I left the boardroom, the hallway was empty. Except for Lena. She jumped to her feet. "Well, what happened? What did they say? Are you fired? Are you promoted? Are we moving to Mexico?" I laughed, the kind of relieved, exhausted laugh that breaks tension like a glass shattering. "I got offered a promotion," I said. Her reaction echoed across the entire floor. "What? Oh my God, Maya, yes." She hugged me so tightly, I lost oxygen. "You're like a corporate superhero, a whistleblowing queen, an ethical goddess." "Lena," I gasped, "I need air." She let go, bouncing on her toes. "So, are you taking it?" I looked at her. I thought about everything that happened. The fear. The manipulation. The risk. The fallout. And then I said the truth. "I don't know yet." Because justice is heavy. Power is complicated. And stepping into a new role meant stepping into the very system I had just helped dismantle. But for the first time, I felt I had a choice. A real one. Within an hour, my inbox exploded. Messages from coworkers, executives, HR, board members, even people I barely knew. Congratulations. You're amazing. Thank you for what you did. You saved us. And then, at the bottom of the inbox, one email that made my blood freeze. From Noah Hartman. Subject, please. I stared at it, not opening it. Not yet. Just staring. Because ghosts don't vanish just because you turn on the light. Sometimes, they linger. And his shadow wasn't done with me. Not yet. The moment I saw his name in my inbox, my stomach twisted into a tight knot. Noah Hartman. The man who used to bark my name like a command. The man who made me doubt myself for years. The man who threatened me, manipulated me, framed me, and then begged in the final moment. And now, he was emailing me. I didn't open it right away. I couldn't. My hands hovered above the keyboard as old memories flooded in like cold water. His voice, his anger, his threats. For a moment, I actually thought, what if he wants revenge? What if he found something else to use against me? What if this isn't over? Lena noticed me frozen at my desk and leaned over. What's wrong? Did someone send you a creepy congratulations gif again? No, I whispered. It's him. Her smile vanished instantly. Oh. She swallowed. Do you want me to sit with you while you open it? I nodded. Because bravery doesn't always mean walking alone. Sometimes it means choosing to let someone stand beside you. I clicked the message, and the screen filled with a short, desperate paragraph. Maya, I know I am the last person you want to hear from. I understand the consequences of my actions now, more than you know. Please, I need to talk to you. Not as your former boss. As a human being who has lost everything. Just one conversation. Noah. Lena let out a slow, disgusted exhale. Oh, please. As a human being, he remembered he's human now. I didn't respond. Because something about the email didn't sit right with me. Not guilt. Not fear. Not manipulation. It felt like something else. Something darker. Desperation. Are you going to reply? Lena asked. No, I said, shaking my head. Not yet, maybe not ever. But the truth was, I already knew I would reply eventually. Not for his sake. For mine. Because loose ends have a way of tightening themselves around your throat if you don't cut them cleanly. 2 hours later, Daniel from IT appeared next to my desk like a quiet shadow. You got an email from him, he said softly. I blinked. How did you? He tapped the side of his ID badge. Security notifications. Any contact from terminated individuals gets flagged automatically. Oh. He leaned closer. Be careful, Maya, I mean it. Do you think he's dangerous? Daniel considered this, then said, desperate people do unpredictable things. I swallowed. Should I block him? If you want to, he replied, but you should know something first. Know what? He hesitated, which scared me more than anything. He tried to access the company servers last night from his personal laptop. My heart lurched. What, after he was suspended? Daniel nodded. We blocked him immediately, but Maya, he wasn't trying to delete anything. What was he doing? Daniel lowered his voice. He was searching for your employee profile. My blood ran cold. Why? I whispered. Daniel shook his head. I don't know, but whatever he wants, it's not good. Just when my anxiety started climbing back up, another email popped into my inbox. From Board HR. Subject, afternoon meeting request. I opened it immediately. The board would like to meet with you again, today at 4 p.m. Please confirm your availability. Lena peered over my shoulder again. Oh no. Why do they want you again? You didn't do anything else. I don't know. I swallowed hard. But I have to go. I typed my confirmation. And suddenly, I felt that familiar, terrifying sensation again. Like the floor of my life might give way at any second. When I walked into the boardroom, there were fewer people this time. Just the chairwoman, the legal advisor, and the head of HR. That alone told me this wasn't a casual conversation. Please sit, Ms. Davis, the chairwoman said gently. I sat. She didn't speak right away. Nobody did. Finally, the legal advisor slid a printed page across the table. It had one sentence highlighted in yellow. A sentence from Hartman's email. I need to talk to you. I looked up, confused. The chairwoman folded her hands. We saw the email. Not because I was stronger than him, but because he finally realized. I wasn't afraid anymore. And when a bully loses fear as a weapon, they lose everything. That night felt different. Not like the nights I used to go home shaking, replaying every cruel word he threw at me. Not like the nights I felt small, insignificant, invisible. No. This night felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. Not terrified of falling, but excited to fly. When I walked into the office, something in the air had changed. People weren't avoiding eye contact anymore. Whispers weren't fearful, they were curious, energized. News had spread. HR had opened a full formal investigation. Executives had been called into meetings. Security logs had been requested. Anonymous testimonies were piling up. And for the first time since I started working there, people weren't afraid of Mr. Grayson. They were questioning him. That's when he walked in. He looked tired, the first crack in his perfect armor. His tie was slightly loose. His smile didn't reach his eyes. He didn't look like a king walking into his court. He looked like a man cornered. And everyone sensed it. During lunch break, HR emailed me. Please report to conference room 6B immediately. My breath caught. This was it. I walked in, and 3 people were waiting. The HR director, the company's internal auditor, and the legal compliance officer. The serious ones. We understand you may have information relevant to the ongoing inquiry, the HR director said. I looked down at the flash drive in my hand, the one I had prepared for days. Yes, I said quietly, I do. They closed the door behind me. I plugged in the drive. I opened the folders. I explained everything. The falsified reports. The fabricated expense claims. The harassment. The threats. The emails. The witnesses. The recordings. The compliance officer paused, leaned forward and said, These are significant violations. If verified, they could lead to termination and legal action. For a moment, I felt the room spinning. Not from fear, but from the weight of finally being heard. They thanked me, offered me support, told me I did the right thing. As I walked out, I felt lighter than I had in years. Mr. Grayson wasn't at his desk that afternoon. Strain. By 3 p.m., the rumor was spreading like wildfire. He had been summoned to the executive floor. By 4 p.m., 2 security guards were seen waiting near the elevators. By 4:30 p.m., he came down. His face was stone. His jaw clenched. His eyes red with fury and humiliation. Everyone stopped working. Everyone watched. Security flanked him on both sides as he walked toward his office. Silently, stiffly, to collect his personal items. He didn't look at anyone, until he reached my cubicle. He stopped. For a long moment, he just stared at me. I didn't look away. In a low, bitter voice, he whispered, "This isn't over." I replied softly, "It is." As he walked out of the building with the security guards, the office was silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Not out of fear, but out of disbelief. Because the man who once made the entire building tremble was now just a disgraced figure, quietly being escorted out. Someone whispered, "Did you see his badge? They deactivated it." Another person murmured, "He's done, completely done." And I just sat there, breathing, for the first time in a long time. Free. Because exposing a man like him, that comes with aftershocks, consequences, ripple effects. And some of those ripples were darker than I expected. For the next 2 days, the office felt strangely quiet. Not dead, but cautious. Like everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. There were new whispers now. The board is furious. Legal is reviewing everything. There might be a press release. Someone said he tried to blame the whole team. But none of it felt real until Friday afternoon, when HR called another company-wide meeting. We all gathered in the main auditorium, hundreds of employees, shoulder to shoulder. The CEO stood at the podium, looking composed but tense. Behind him, I saw 2 legal officers and a board representative. This wasn't a small matter. Something big was coming. The CEO began. "As some of you know, we have recently conducted a thorough internal review regarding allegations of misconduct by a senior leader in this organization." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. My hands were cold but steady. "After evaluating the evidence," he continued, "we have decided to terminate the employment of Mr. Grayson effective immediately." A wave went through the room. Gasps. Whispers. Shock. But it wasn't over. The CEO added, "Additionally, external authorities have been contacted." That meant only one thing: criminal investigation. The room exploded with noise. Disbelief, relief, whispers, stunned murmurs. I just sat there, frozen. It was happening. Really happening. The CEO raised a hand for silence. "We want to thank the individuals who came forward," he said. "Your courage will help us rebuild a better workplace." For a moment, I swear, I felt the entire room turn toward me. Not obviously. Not dramatically. Just this collective shift. Like people suddenly understood who started the fire that burned the monster down. My chest tightened with something I wasn't prepared for. Pride. And fear. Because when you expose someone powerful, the downfall doesn't always end cleanly. Not everyone applauds you. Some people want revenge of their own. Over the next week, 2 things became clear. Most people supported me. People started smiling at me in the hallways. Some thanked me quietly. Others left notes on my desk, saying they admired my bravery. A few people were furious. Not at Mr. Grayson. At me. His loyal inner circle, the ones he promoted unfairly, protected, rewarded. They saw me as the reason their power structure had crumbled. One morning, when I walked into the break room, a group went silent. One woman rolled her eyes dramatically. Another muttered, "She must be so proud of ruining someone's life." I ignored it, or tried to, but it stung. Because no matter how justified the truth is, there are always people who prefer the lie. It happened on a Thursday night. I stayed back late to finish a report. Around 9:30 p.m., I packed up my things and headed to the parking garage. That's when I saw it. A slip of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. My stomach dropped as I pulled it out. One sentence. Shaky handwriting. Black ink. "You should have kept your mouth shut." My hands went numb. Someone had been close to my car. Close enough to leave something. Close enough to watch me. I looked around. The garage was silent, empty, dimly lit. I locked myself in my car and sped out. My heart didn't stop pounding until I was home. For the first time since taking Grayson down, I realized the danger wasn't over. Some people wanted him back. Some people blamed me. Some people wanted to scare me into silence. I wasn't the quiet girl anymore. I wasn't the scared assistant anymore. I wasn't the victim anymore. I had faced the worst man in the building and brought him to his knees. A threatening note wasn't going to stop me. If anything, it lit a new fire inside me. A fire that said, "If you're coming for me, I will be ready." I barely slept that night. Every sound made me flinch. Every shadow looked like someone watching me. The note sat on my kitchen counter like a taunt. "You should have kept your mouth shut." I stared at it for so long that the words started to blur. But the longer I looked at it, the more it changed from a threat into motivation. They wanted me scared. They wanted me silent. They wanted me to regret exposing Mr. Grayson. But I had survived him, the man who controlled my career, my confidence, my peace. This anonymous coward wasn't going to break me. I threw the note into a drawer and closed it firmly. And then, for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Because people don't threaten someone who's powerless. They threaten someone who's winning. When I walked into work the next morning, something felt off. People were watching me again, but not with admiration or curiosity. With tension, uneasy glances, whispers that stopped when I walked by, sideways stares from his loyalists. One of them, Connor, Grayson's favorite yes man, stood by the printer, arms crossed. As I passed, he muttered just loud enough, "Some people don't know when to stop." I paused, turned slowly. "Some people don't know how to treat others," I replied softly. He smirked. "You think you're a hero?" "No," I said. "I think I told the truth, and truth doesn't need titles." His smile vanished. "Careful," he whispered. "You've made enemies." I walked away before he could say anything else. But my heart was beating fast. Not in fear. In clarity. Because now, I finally knew exactly who had written that note. That evening, instead of going home, I marched straight to HR. The director looked up, surprised to see me. "I need to report something." I placed the threatening note on her desk. Her expression turned sharp. "This is serious," she said. "Did you see who put this on your car?" "No, but I know who supports the man who hurt me." She nodded. "Let us handle it." Something in her tone made me exhale slowly, for the first time all day. I wasn't alone anymore. Not like before. The next morning, I was summoned again, but this time not to HR. To the executive floor. To the CEO's office. My stomach tightened as the assistant ushered me inside. The CEO stood up, offered his hand. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." I sat cautiously. He leaned forward, elbows on his desk. "I wanted to speak to you personally," he said. "Not just about Mr. Grayson, but about your future here." My heart thudded. He continued. "You showed courage we haven't seen in years, and you uncovered issues that could have destroyed this company from the inside out." I swallowed. "I didn't do it for recognition," I said quietly. "I did it because it was right." "I know," he said with a small smile, "and that's why we want to protect you." I blinked. "Protect me?" He nodded. "We know certain individuals are unhappy with the investigation's outcome. We will not tolerate retaliation, threats, or intimidation. HR is taking immediate action." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Then he added something I wasn't prepared for. "And we'd like to offer you a promotion." My breath caught. "A promotion," I whispered. "To senior compliance coordinator, a leadership role." Better pay, more influence. Your skill set and integrity make you the perfect fit. I stared at him, stunned. It didn't feel real. A few months ago, I had felt invisible, powerless, small. Now, I was being offered a role with real impact. My voice shook as I said, "I thank you, truly. I didn't expect this." "You earned it," the CEO replied. When I returned to my floor, the looks changed. The admiration turned into resentment. Some people congratulated me politely. Others glared. And then there were the ones who openly hated me. The ones who once depended on Grayson's rule. Connor was one of them. As I walked past, he muttered loudly, "Look at her, the company pet now." I didn't react. But he wasn't finished. "You're replacing him," he said. "You think you deserve that. You're nothing but the reason he's gone." I stopped, turned around, and for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt strength. Quiet, steady strength. "I didn't destroy him," I said softly. "He destroyed himself." His jaw tightened. "But you," I added, "you should be careful, because if you're threatening people, HR will deal with you the same way they dealt with him." His face drained of color. I walked away calmly. But my heart was pounding. Because even if I wasn't afraid anymore, I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. Some people still wanted revenge. Some people still wanted to make me pay. And the worst part, one of them was closer than I realized. The tension in the office didn't fade. If anything, it thickened, like heavy fog that refused to lift. Some people celebrated my promotion quietly. Some avoided me completely. And some watched me with eyes that held more anger than grief. It wasn't paranoia. It was instinct. The same instinct that had warned me about Mr. Grayson months before he finally snapped. And now it was screaming again. On Monday morning, I walked into my new office, a small but private room, still being prepared for me. There was a sticky note on the desk. A yellow square. Blank. At first glance, it looked harmless. But when I picked it up, I felt my stomach tighten. Someone had taken the time to place it exactly in the center of my desk. A message without words. A silent threat. A reminder. I can get into your space. Not as loud as the car note, but somehow creepier. I checked the hallway. Empty. I locked the door behind me. Later that afternoon, HR emailed me. We conducted a review of garage security footage. Unfortunately, the cameras in that section were under maintenance. I frowned. Under maintenance. At the exact time, someone left a threatening message on my car. The timing was too perfect. Too convenient. Someone knew the blind spots. Someone who worked here. Someone who had access. My mind flashed back to Connor, but something in my gut told me, no. He was a bully. An arrogant follower. But he wasn't smart enough for this. The real enemy wasn't loud. Wasn't obvious. No. They were someone who knew how to move quietly. Someone who understood how things worked. Someone who might have benefited from Grayson's abuses. Someone who lost something when I came forward. Someone who had something to hide. 2 days later, I caught a strange conversation by accident. I was walking past meeting room 12D when I heard hushed voices inside. "She's ruining everything." "Lower your voice." "I don't care. She should have just kept her head down. Now everything's falling apart. We can't let them link us. Do you understand? If they find out." Silence. My breath caught. 2 voices. One female. One male. I recognized the female voice first. Madison. She had been one of Grayson's closest allies. Quiet but always watching. Always agreeing. Always doing his dirty work in the shadows. The male voice. I leaned in slightly. And then I realized it was Jason, a senior coordinator in accounting. Popular, charming, well-liked. He was the last person I ever would have suspected. But then he said something that made my blood run cold. The investigation won't stop with him. If she keeps digging, we're next. My heart slammed against my ribs. We're next. That meant they were guilty of something. Something serious. Something worth threatening me over. I stepped back quietly, but the door handle rattled. My pulse stopped. The door opened. Jason stood there, mid-sentence, and froze when he saw me. His face drained of color. Madison stood behind him, eyes wide. The fear in their expressions told me everything. They knew I heard them, and they knew I wasn't supposed to. Jason forced a smile. "Oh, hey, didn't see you there." His voice was too light, too friendly, too fake. Madison stepped forward quickly. "We were just talking about the company changes. Crazy week, right?" I didn't answer. I simply said, "I'll let HR know the cameras were down. Maybe they can fix that soon." Jason's jaw clenched. Just for a second, but long enough for me to notice. I walked away. And for the first time since exposing Mr. Grayson, I felt afraid again. Not of a single monster, but of the shadows he left behind. Shadows that were now turning toward me. As I drove home, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. My hands tightened on the wheel. I pulled over before opening it. The message was just one sentence. "Stop digging." That was it. No name. No punctuation. Just those two words. I stared at it, my heart pounding. This wasn't random. This wasn't petty revenge. This was planned. Calculated. Someone didn't want the truth to surface. Someone dangerous. And I had just stepped into their line of sight. Because unlike before, I wasn't alone. I had HR, the CEO, documentation, a higher position, the truth. And more importantly, I had become someone who didn't back down. Not anymore. I put my phone away, turned on the engine, and whispered to myself, if they want to fight, they'll get one. When I reached home that night, I didn't turn on the lights immediately. I just stood there in the quiet darkness, holding my phone, replaying the message over and over. Stop digging. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was an ultimatum. But instead of fear washing over me, something unexpected settled in my chest. Determination. Months ago, I would have curled into myself, terrified to breathe wrong. But now, after everything, I wasn't backing down. Not when I was this close to uncovering the truth behind Grayson's empire. Not when I now understood. He wasn't the only corrupt one. He was just the beginning. I woke up early and arrived at the office before anyone else. The building felt cold and still, like it was holding its breath. I walked into my new office, closed the door, and opened the confidential reports HR had sent me as part of my new compliance role. That's when I saw it. A list of expense accounts that didn't match the official budget. Hidden payments. Ghost vendors. Duplicated invoices. And one name appeared again and again. Jason. My stomach sank. The charming, helpful, always smiling Jason. The one everyone trusted. The one who hid behind professionalism and friendliness like armor. He had been helping Grayson siphon money through fake vendors. It was fraud. Serious fraud. And Madison. She wasn't just a follower. She approved the transfers. My breath trembled. This was bigger than I imagined. Grayson's downfall had exposed a network. A network that wasn't done fighting. Around 10 a.m., Madison walked past my office. She didn't come in, but she paused, just long enough for her eyes to meet mine. Her stare was sharp, calculated, cold. It was the look predators give when deciding whether to attack. I looked back evenly, refusing to break. That's when she smiled. A small, strange, unsettling smile. Then she walked away. A chill ran down my spine. But I wasn't backing down. Not now. Later that afternoon, I met with HR and the legal team. I slid the file across the table. Jason and Madison are involved in financial misconduct, I said quietly. Possibly for years. The room went silent. The legal director exhaled sharply. This could mean criminal charges. We'll need to open a formal investigation on both, HR added. My heart raced, but not from fear. From the weight of what was coming. The legal director leaned forward. Are you prepared for backlash? He asked gently. Backlash. The word felt too small for what I knew was coming. I'm prepared, I said softly. Because what choice did I have? Truth doesn't back down. And neither could I. By Thursday, people sensed something huge was happening. Executives walked fast, whispering. HR staff held folders like shields. 2 board members were spotted entering the building unexpectedly. Jason looked off. His smile looked forced. His voice too loud. His jokes too frequent. And Madison. She wasn't pretending anymore. Her stares were openly hateful. Every time she passed me, it felt like she was measuring the distance between us. Calculating. Waiting. Around 6:45 p.m., most people were packing up to leave. I stayed late to finish a report. As I stood to stretch my legs, I heard footsteps outside, slow, deliberate. Then my office door handle rattled. My heart stopped. I walked toward the door and pulled it open. Jason stood there. Too close. Too calm. Too rehearsed. Oh, he said with a smile, didn't expect you to still be here. I kept my expression neutral. Did you need something? He glanced around the hallway, empty, then stepped inside. I heard you've been busy, he said lightly. I didn't answer. He stepped closer. I hope you understand something, he whispered. This company works because people know how to mind their business. I am minding my business, I said calmly. It's my job to investigate. His smile faltered. For the first time, I saw the cracks. The real Jason, beneath the friendliness, was cruel. Sharp. Dangerous. Be careful, he said softly. For your own good. I looked him dead in the eyes. Threats didn't work for your mentor, I whispered. And they won't work for you. His jaw clenched. He stepped back, face hard. Then he turned and walked out, closing the door behind him. My knees felt weak. But I didn't break. Not this time. I left the office at 9 p.m. The building was mostly empty. Lights dim. Quiet. As I walked to the parking garage, I kept scanning the shadows. The garage was cool and echoing. Every step sounded louder than it should. I approached my car and froze. There was something on the windshield again. But not a note this time. A single red marker slash across the glass. A warning. A promise. A threat. My hands shook as I stared at it. This wasn't just intimidation. This was escalation. Someone wasn't just angry. Someone was desperate. And desperate people do dangerous things. I didn't hide. I didn't break. Instead, I took a deep breath, got into my car and whispered, I'm not afraid of you. Because the truth was finally out in the open. And I was closer than ever to exposing everything. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was justice. And justice wasn't done with them yet. I woke up before dawn. Not because I couldn't sleep, but because my body refused to let me. Today was the day. The day everything would shift. The day all the quiet suffering, all the humiliation, All the tears hidden in bathroom stalls would finally matter. I got dressed slowly, choosing a simple black dress and a calm bun, something that made me look collected, unshakable. But my hands were trembling. I kept whispering to myself, stay steady, not today, don't break today. When I arrived at the office, the lobby felt different. You know how sometimes you walk into a room and the air is charged, heavy, expectant. That's how it felt. The security guard, Mr. Jude, nodded at me with an unusual kind of respect. "Good morning, ma'am," he said. Ma'am. He rarely called me that. I rode the elevator alone. The mirrored walls reflected a version of me I barely recognized, calm, sharp, purposeful. A woman on the edge, but one who finally knew which direction she was falling. When I reached the 7th floor, I saw them. The compliance team. 5 people in dark suits, laptops already open, badges displayed. And right in front of them, packing like a trapped wolf, was Marcus, my boss. His tie was crooked, his eyes wild, his voice already raised. "This is absurd," he was saying. "You don't just barge into my department without notice. You need clearance from me." The lead auditor, a woman with ice in her eyes, replied calmly, "Actually, we need clearance from the board." Marcus froze. Because that meant one thing. The board was involved. Something had reached them, something big. He didn't know it yet, but the something was me. I walked past them, quietly heading toward my desk. Marcus spun around the second he saw me. "You," he barked, pointing a shaking finger. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. I simply logged into my computer, plugged in my headset, and said calmly, "Good morning." The auditors turned to look at me, then at him. He looked ridiculous, shouting while I sat there like a ghost he couldn't scare anymore. He lowered his voice, but I could still feel the venom dripping from each word. "We need to talk," he hissed. "No," I replied gently. "We don't." His face twisted. For years he spoke to me like he owned my time, my effort, my dignity. Today, he owned nothing. Marcus followed the auditors into the glass conference room, slamming the door behind them. I watched silently as they began opening files I had flagged. Transactions, emails, whistleblower reports. All traced back to him. Salaries rerouted. Bonuses stolen. Budgets manipulated. Vendors suspiciously approved. Employees silenced. The auditors' faces shifted from neutral to concerned to shocked. Marcus kept sweating, kept lying, kept changing his story every 5 minutes. At some point, his voice got so loud that even through the glass walls, the whole floor could hear. I didn't authorize those transfers. She did. SHEHANDLES payroll, ask HER, ask her. All eyes turned to me. And in that moment, for the first time in my entire career, I did not shrink. I sat up straighter. I met every gaze. And I did not look away. Marcus realized, too late, that the power he used to have over me no longer existed. By noon, the entire building knew something was wrong. People whispered near the printers. HR pretended not to stare, but stared anyway. Even the interns stopped scrolling their phones. Marcus's office was sealed for investigation. His laptop removed. His access locked. He stormed out of the conference room once, trying to call someone important, but the call didn't go through. I heard him muttering, "They're throwing me to the wolves. Someone set me up. Someone did this on purpose." He looked at me again, and there was fear in his eyes. Real fear. Not anger. Not dominance. Fear. The look of a powerful man, finally realizing he wasn't untouchable. One of the auditors approached me. "Can we speak privately?" My heart dropped. Not out of fear, but because this was the moment. The moment everything I planned was going to be exposed. We stepped into a small meeting room. He closed the door. Miss Evelyn, he began, we have reviewed the documents you submitted. They are extensive. I nodded. We also have proof that you attempted to report this months ago. Yes, I said quietly. And that Mr. Marcus threatened you afterward. The air left my lungs. He did, I whispered. The auditor sat forward. You showed remarkable courage, and I'm sorry it took this long for someone to listen. No one had ever said that to me before. Not once. Not in all the years I had been surviving instead of living. He continued. The board wants you to know we believe you, and we will protect you during this process. I closed my eyes. And for the first time in months, I felt safe. When we returned to the office floor, Marcus was waiting. His tie was off. His hair disheveled. His hands shaking. He looked defeated, but also enraged. He marched straight toward me, eyes wild. Why? He demanded. What did I ever do to you? I blinked. For a moment, it felt like everything went quiet. The office, the whispers, the ticking clocks, just silence. Then I stood, and I looked him dead in the eyes. You broke me, I said. His lips parted. You humiliated me. You stole from everyone here. You destroyed people's careers. And when I tried to speak up, you tried to destroy me too. His face turned pale. But I survived. I continued, my voice steady. And I spoke. And you didn't listen. I leaned in slightly. But today, everyone else did. The entire floor watched. And Marcus finally understood. His reign was over. The office had never been this quiet. Not even during power outages. Not even during fire drills. Not even during the layoffs. This quiet was different. It was the sound of a kingdom collapsing. At 4:12 p.m., the elevator dinged. Everyone turned. Out stepped 3 members of the board, followed by the head of legal and the chief compliance officer. Marcus froze mid-sentence. He had been trying to convince one of the auditors that all of this was misinterpreted paperwork. Now he looked like a man who just watched the ground open beneath his feet. Marcus, the board chair said coolly, step into the conference room, now. His voice held no room for negotiation. Marcus swallowed. Then he turned, slowly, like his body weighed 50 kilos more than it had that morning, and walked toward the glass-walled room. Every single employee on the floor watched him go. And for the first time, he didn't bark at anyone. He didn't snap his fingers. He didn't glare. He looked small, like a man who finally understood that arrogance cannot save you from consequences. The blinds were still open. No one bothered to close them. So we all saw everything. The board chair spread the documents across the table. The fake vendor contracts. The falsified expense approvals. The harassment complaints he buried. The threats he emailed. The payroll skimming. And finally, the whistleblower report with my initials. His eyes widened when he saw that last one. I looked right at him. And he knew. He knew the person he thought he could intimidate, humiliate, silence, and control was the same person who had taken down his entire empire. He slammed his hand on the table. This is a setup, he shouted. She manipulated this. The board chair didn't raise his voice. Marcus, there are digital trails, financial trails, approval logs, IP addresses, access timestamps. This isn't a setup. This is what you did. Marcus's chest heaved. No, this can't be happening, he stammered. You're throwing away 12 years of leadership. The compliance officer cut him off. Leadership built on fraud and abuse is not leadership. Marcus's face drained of color. He slumped into the chair. A man finally seeing himself without the shield of power. A man finally seeing what the world saw. A man finally realizing his lies, could not outrun the truth anymore. The moment no one expected, Marcus looked up at me, not with rage, not with superiority, but with something almost like recognition, as if he finally understood that the person he underestimated the most was the one who ended him. His lips trembled, not in anger, but in fear. "Evelyn," he said, voice thin, "you did this. You destroyed me. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I didn't destroy you," I said quietly. "You destroyed yourself. I just stopped hiding it." The room went still. Even the board members looked at me. Marcus leaned back, defeated. His hands covered his face. And for the first time since I had joined this company, he looked exactly like what he was. A guilty man with nowhere left to hide. 2 security officers stepped onto the floor. Not aggressive, not dramatic, just professional, steady, calm. "Marcus," the board chair said softly, "your employment is terminated effective immediately. Your access is revoked. You cannot return to this building." Marcus didn't stand at first. He sat there, staring at the table as if hoping it would swallow him whole. Then, slowly, shakily, he rose. Security flanked him. He looked around at the office he once ruled like a tyrant. No one looked away. Not this time. Not anymore. Some looked angry. Some satisfied. Some relieved. But no one looked scared. He had taken that from us for years. Today, we took it back. Before he stepped into the elevator, he turned toward me one last time. There was no hatred. Just emptiness. A king stripped of his crown. And I felt nothing. No revenge high. No triumph. No guilt. Just release. The elevator doors slid shut. And Marcus was gone. When the doors closed, the air shifted. It felt like the whole building exhaled. Like the weight that had been pressing on all of us had finally been lifted. People looked at me. Not with pity. Not with fear. But with something else. Respect. Recognition. Some even smiled. Small, quiet smiles of gratitude. My friend Maya walked up first and wrapped her arms around me. "You did it," she whispered. "You really did it." Tears pricked my eyes, but they didn't fall. Not yet. Another coworker came. Then another. And another. People I barely spoke to now approached with gentle nods, quiet thank yous, soft, "we're proud of yous." And then the board chair approached. "Evelyn," he said, "we owe you an apology, a very big one." I shook my head. I just wanted it to stop. "It will," he promised, "and we want to discuss your future here when you're ready." I nodded. But truthfully, I wasn't thinking about promotions, or apologies, or recognition. I was thinking about the woman I used to be. The one who sat at her desk wiping tears before anyone saw. The one who feared HR. The one who made herself smaller to survive. The one who thought silence was safety. Today proved something. Silence protects the powerful. Truth protects the brave. I walked toward the window overlooking the city. The sun was setting. The sky turning gold. And as I watched the reflection of the office behind me, the office finally free from the man who kept us all suffering, I finally let myself breathe. Truly breathe. Deep, full, steady. For the first time, I whispered to the glass, "It's over." And this time, it really was. You know, when I first walked into that building, all those years ago, I thought I needed to prove myself. I thought if I worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, stayed small enough, people would treat me fairly. But life doesn't always reward silence. Sometimes silence becomes the cage they hope you never break out of. For a long time, I let fear guide me. Fear of losing my job. Fear of being labeled difficult. Fear of the consequences of telling the truth. But fear is a strange thing. It whispers that your suffering is easier than fighting back. It convinces you that the pain you know is safer than the freedom you haven't felt yet. I believed that whisper for far too long. And then something inside me snapped. Or maybe it didn't snap. Maybe it finally woke up. Maybe I finally realized that surviving isn't the same as living. That keeping quiet doesn't protect you. It protects the person hurting you. The truth is, people like Marcus don't fall because you push them. They fall because you stop holding them up. All I did was tell the truth. And the truth, well, it doesn't always move fast. But it never fails to arrive. What happened to Marcus wasn't revenge. Not really. Revenge is fueled by anger. This was justice. The kind that arrives quietly. The kind that walks in on steady feet. The kind that doesn't yell. Because it doesn't need to. His downfall wasn't my victory. My victory was finding my voice. My victory was choosing myself. And if you're listening to my story right now, maybe there's a part of you that's tired too. Tired of staying quiet. Tired of shrinking. Tired of pretending something doesn't hurt just because no one else sees the bruise. If that's you, listen carefully. There is power in your voice. Even if it shakes. Even if you whisper first. Even if you don't feel ready. You don't need revenge to win. You just need courage. Enough courage to tell the truth. Enough courage to walk away. Enough courage to stand up. Even if your legs tremble the entire time. Because at the end of the day, the truth is stronger than fear. I learned that. The hard way. But I learned it. And now I finally get to breathe. I finally get to walk into a building without carrying my own shadow behind me. I finally get to look in the mirror and see a woman who didn't break. Even when someone tried to. So if you take anything from my story, let it be this. You are allowed to defend your peace. You are allowed to protect your dignity. You are allowed to walk away from the people who thrive on your silence. You are allowed to choose yourself. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything. My name is Maya Thompson. And this was my story. The story of how I stopped surviving and finally started living. Remember, the truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. If you want more stories like this, you know what to do. This was the story of Evelyn, and the day a tyrant finally fell. If you want another story, I'll be here, waiting in the shadows. In a world full of silence, courage is the loudest sound. Join me next time for another story where justice finally speaks. Stories like this, they happen every day. And trust me, the next one is even darker. If you ever felt unheard, this one was for you. Stay with me. More stories are coming. They tried to break her. They failed. If you want to hear more victories like this, stick around. This was justice. This was truth. And this was only the beginning.